Now that domestic leagues are over, the U.S. men's national team and manager Greg Berhalter are going to have an opportunity to work with his squad during this June window. Lots of good takeaways. Zach Steffen winning the league title for the second consecutive season. Tyler Adams, James Sands, members of their respective cup-winning sides. Timothy Weah bagging a brace. And, of course, Weston McKennie returning from injury, just to name a few standouts. As we take a look at the June schedule that includes friendlies and CONCACAF Nations League matches, one topical thing to add, Leeds United finalizing a deal per multiple reports to sign U.S. men's national team attacker Brendan Aronson from RB Salzburg, around $30 million, to then pair him up with American manager Jesse Marsch. All right, let's talk the men's national team. Nobody better than the gaffer Tomas Rongen, former USMNT lead scout. So let's take a look at the announced roster here. Yep. Tomas Rongen, again, released here just a couple days ago ahead of the June window. Give me some sense of standouts for you, and then maybe a question or two position-wise with this list.
For the first time, like Greg Berhalter said, you know what, 26 players go to the World Cup. And by the way, Tommy Tran, you reminded me of that this morning. He brought in 27 players, 10 from MLS, headlined by Pulisic, Adams, McKennie, and we'll talk about Chris McKennie a little bit later. Musa, Weah, that scored 2 goals for Lille in his last 2 games. Steffen and Turner, and obviously the Leeds-bound Aronson are the key guys right there. Interesting, some new faces, some unkept players as well that we'll talk about later due to injuries, or in some cases, Greg Berhalter said, you know what, Pepe, you need some rest. You've gone to Augsburg, where, by the way, he hasn't played very much either. Take a rest. Dest is still injured. Gio Reyna's still injured. Pefok injured as well. So that also determines his roster. 2 good games against fellow World Cup teams in Morocco and Uruguay, and 2 games in the Nations League where I think he's looking towards to say, I need to play my best 11, and we'll talk about it a little bit later as well. But an interesting roster.
Yeah, no Brooks, no Ledesma as well. So a couple of position groups that you've targeted. Let's start first with the goalkeepers. Questions you might have.
Tommy. You remember the semifinal against Liverpool?
Yeah.
Zach Steffen in goal? Oh, my God. And immediately afterwards, you talk about not sharp enough, not in form. You need to play as a goalkeeper. He played 9 games, Tommy. 9 games he played last year. That's unbelievable, obviously. And there's Zach Steffen, that if he's healthy, and due to his relationship with Berhalter, going all the way back to Columbus where he played, he's your number 1. Although Turner during qualifying got more games due to injuries as well. But for both Zach Steffen and Matt Turner, this is huge, obviously. 1 at City, 1 at Arsenal. 2 things need to happen. Can they replace the starters? Which is tough, and I don't think that will happen. The preseason might determine that. Or do you talk to your agent and the club and say, you know what, I need to go on loan and play each and every day. If there's one position in soccer, I think it's the goalkeeping position where you need to play week in, week out, and where you have to rely on maybe 2 saves a game to be sharp. And clearly Steffen and Turner have shown that they haven't been sharp due to the fact of lack of playing time. So that is huge as well. You go back to Tim Howard, who was a starter for Everton, 2010-14. He won games single-handedly. Brad Friedel in 2002, starter for Blackburn, by the way. We almost went to the semis due to the fact we had an informed goalkeeper. Big question right now for Greg Berhalter going forward, and for Matt Turner and Zach Steffen. Do they want to go on loan? I say you better do.
Tough to be informed when you don't play. So you have questions all the way in the back, and you also have questions all the way up front, questions about the number 9.
And that's the question that started with Berhalter taking the reins and going into qualifying. Who's our best player? And all of a sudden, here's Ricardo Pepi, a 19-year-old that scores goals in MLS and will take the informed guy. 6'1", 6'2", good in the air, obviously, shown at Dallas that he can score, leading goal scorer in MLS a year ago, and then Augsburg comes in, and that is for a tough decision for a guy like that. Is Augsburg the right club? He certainly thought it was. All of a sudden he goes there, he starts 1 or 2 games, underperforms, and sits as well. And the rest that Greg Berhalter has given Pepe is more from a mental standpoint to overcome, the disappointments, obviously. And look at the goal scorers right there. Pulisic with 5, Pepe with 3. A left back with 2 as well, Brendan Aronson and Weston McKennie, the usual suspects, obviously. But it will give opportunities in this camp, Tommy, with only 2 true forwards in Ferreira, who leads the league right now in MLS from Dallas with 10 goals, and a player that I really like because I call Turkish games is Haji Wright, who's really set things on fire and could be at 6'4", mobile, strong, 14 goals, by the way, in the Turkish league as well. He's been in a camp in 2019, not officially capped, so that will happen here, and he will get a great opportunity. In form, Greg Berhalter, this is a guy in form right now.
All right, we got time for one, maybe two more. So Weston McKennie, got to let you know, Juventus out of the Scudetto race, so he came back, played a little bit here on his way back from that broken foot. Let's get to the roster, though, back to that with Greg Berhalter. This June window, Thomas Rongen, if you were Greg Berhalter, how do you continue to tinker with that, finding the right matches, maybe finding ultimately your best starting 11?
You go your first two games with the new and uncapped players. Not all of them, by the way, but some of them. And I say right now, Haji Wright, you will be in one of those two games, and Ferreira, you'll be in the other game. It wouldn't surprise me if Haji Wright starts against Morocco and Ferreira versus Uruguay, because one is technical, one is more powerful. That might be a good matchup. Malik Tillman, 19-year-old Bayern Munich. By the way, played 7 games for the first team this year, scored a goal as well. And he's a attacking number 10 or
Can you play him forward?
A pocket winger.
Okay.
And if you talk about pocket winger, Tommy, maybe Greg Berhalter is even looking at a 3-back system to put those players like a Tillman. Is this too early to go to the World Cup? It's a future move, but you never know with the good performance as well. So that's important. And the center back position obviously is huge as well. Eric Palmer-Brown plays for Troyes against Messi, against his teammate, by the way, Mr. Weah as well. Payet, and he's played very well. Dealt with relegation. They stayed up in Ligue 1. I like this kid, by the way, because after Miles Robinson got injured, there is an opening next to Walker Zimmerman.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.